It was my mother's birthday the other day, and during dinner conversations it was revealed that my uncle, entitled Father F, had purposefully lied to his daughter after his car battery had gone flat in his car. My grandfather, bless him, brought it up in conversation asking how the car was running. Unbeknownst to him, my uncle had taken the car battery out of his daughter's car, which she has paid for herself, and did a switcheroo without telling her. My cousin was understandably upset at the fact he had done this behind her back. It is not the first time he has gone too far, thinking he is entitled to her property. He has also taken her car without asking, because he could not be bothered buying his own fuel. According to my mother, F would not admit he had done wrong by not asking or telling her what he had done. As a result, my cousin asked for her spare key to her car back given he could not be trusted. He refused, but her mother managed to sneak it to her later. As a result, F has now decided that given he is not entitled to her car, she is not allowed to park at or near his residence. Given she is not far from going to university, I will not be surprised if she doesn't go out of her way to come back and see her dad. Moral of the story: parents should not feel entitled to their children's property. Courtesy should always be given. Dishonesty gets you nowhere. This is my first r/entitled parents post, so bear with me. Context: 4 years ago, when I was in 7th grade, I and one of my friends who was, and still is, my next door neighbor, calling him Alejandro in this story, walked to school together. Our middle school was just about a mile away from our neighborhood, so it was a simple walk. Alejandro and I had Mexican parents, which meant we always left our houses at 7 AM sharp. Upon leaving our houses and walking down the main road towards the school, we always used to stop by another friend's house, X, entitled Kids. In the beginning of the school year, we agreed with X to arrive around 7:15 AM, wait for X's sister to be picked up and sent to elementary school. Then by 7:30 AM, we would be on our way to school. Well, it started off on that schedule. Every day, for the first half of the year, we had a timing planned. Though soon enough X's sister kept being picked up later and later, because X kept forgetting to text the friends of his sister to pick him up by the time we got there. M, entitled mother, was at work at the time, so she couldn't really remind her precious child to plan ahead. Soon, Alejandro and I grew tired of this behavior from X and addressed it to him. He made up excuses ranging from getting up late to busy with clothes. Obviously, Alejandro and I were not fazed by this and promptly planned to skip his house around the middle of the school year. Of course, this was a great mistake. Main, as said above, around midway through the school year, Alejandro and I skipped X's house because of his outrageous excuses and inability to be on time. By mere coincidence, X's mother, M, was home at the time. We recognized this from the purple van parked in the driveway. Funny enough, we still skipped the house anyway. Around 3/4 the route to our middle school, a purple van veered to the sidewalk and parked on the bike lane suddenly, right next to us. Alejandro and I stared at each other, then glanced at the van. The window slowly went down and sure enough, it was M with her 2 kids in the back seat, X and S, entitled sister. X equals entitled kid, M equals entitled mother, S equals entitled sister, me equals me, Alejandro equals Alejandro. M, forgetting something? Me, no, M, points to her precious X and S in the backseat. Me, I'm sorry ma'am, but I and Alejandro chose not to come by your house anymore, because X kept making us leave later and later. It is not our responsibility to take care of your children, please bear in mind. I was fed up with almost being late to school and was keeping it in. My anger let out finally. M, obviously angry we didn't agree with her tactic, and suddenly sped off to the school we were headed to. I and Alejandro looked at each other, then back at the van, wondering how to compose our thoughts. When we eventually did arrive back at the school, we were greeted by the middle school glare by X. We never bothered to pick up X ever again, since indeed, we realized his mother was just a parent who felt privileged enough to make us take care of her children. Concluding statement: thank you so much for reading. Until a few days ago, I thought I never encountered an entitled parent, but when I suddenly remembered this event in my life, I then realized I did, indeed, encounter an entitled parent. I have been sitting on this story since Sunday and still cannot believe it happened. I got off work Sunday evening and decided to go to the store to buy some groceries. I'm a starving college kid. As I was walking towards the front door of the store, I turn and see a man carrying his son while crossing the street. It's been cold as heck out here. So, I hurried inside. I'm through the second set of doors when the dad yells, "Why the hell didn't you hold the door open for me? I'm carrying my son." I just glared at him and kept walking. The reason I didn't hold the door open for him? It was an automatic door. Okay, so, I used to work at a wholesale store called BJ's, giving free samples of products. We got a lot of interesting people, especially on the weekends, when I tended to work. Saturdays and Sundays were bad enough, but the real trouble were on Fridays after 3 or 4 p.m, when the kids started to get out of school. Parents, often enough, would come into the store after picking up their kids. As you may expect, this would often frustrate the mothers or fathers that were forced to deal with the pressure of buying groceries after driving to their luxurious private school to pick up their darling angels. Who better to take out your anger on than the people giving you a free taste of a product for your kids to enjoy? This is far from my only example, but probably the most entertaining one. I was cooking a pre-prepared chicken meal of a popular brand for people to taste, one that most had likely tried assuming you eat meat/poultry. It was a product where you had to heat it through an oven for a good 10 to 15 minutes, so I did my best to make it last as long as possible between cutting up the samples for tasting and cooking the product for the next batch. However, it's impossible to avoid a downtime of 5 minutes or more when the store's busy, particularly when the rush comes in between 4 to 5 p.m. Enter the entitled parent and children, of which there were about 3. I had just finished giving out the last of my cooked product, of which had been finished around 2 minutes ago, and cut up into relatively small sample sizes. Entitled parent came up and asked me for a sample. Me, sorry, I just gave out the last of what I had. If you come back in about 10 minutes, I'll have some more for you and your kids. What? How do you not have any more ready right now? Isn't that your job? Me, well, I cooked a whole batch, but there were a lot of people before you, so there's not any left right now. I apologize. I'm already not very good at denying someone, but I tried to make things better as best I could. Me, it shouldn't be too long. I'm sure you have a lot of stuff to pick up. The next batch should be ready within the next 10 minutes. Would you like me to save some samples for you and your kids? We are not exactly supposed to do this. It's meant to be on a first come, first serve basis. You're kidding me. How do you not have it ready now? I bet you ate all the samples yourself. You jerk, why won't you just give them to me? Me, I'm sorry, there's just none available. There's a few other demo cards today. Why don't you go check them out first? I don't care. I want your chicken. You're starving my kids. Me, the samples are very small inches. Do you want me to report you? Me, go do that. Sure. You're going to regret this. How dare you try and make me wait for these samples? She then walked away, and the samples were ready about 2 minutes later. I cut them up and gave them out to the people who were waiting. I saw her walking around the store, and she never even came up or asked about them again. Did you enjoy this video? Leave a like and subscribe to Brody for more.